You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Everybody, and surprise, it's Miss Jen and Alfie.
Which is no surprise.
I've
been here.
How many weeks has this been like your regular gig?
I honestly don't know. It's definitely been more than one.
More than one.
One or nine.
And be aware, I do have the top of my head. It's just hypothetical at this point. Because if you see the top of my head, then you don't get to see any of Alfie. All right, everybody. Hi, I'm back. What's a Collector? How are you doing? This is Minute to Skim It here on The Experience, our weekly review show, totally spoiler-free. Hey, John S., how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being a supporter of the network. We're super thankful. And subscriptions are the name of the game right now. We're trying to get to 1,500 subscribers. Doesn't cost you anything, but it could win you a bunch of cool stuff. So as soon as we reach the 1,500 mark, we're going to be giving away some killer CGC slabs. And it's not going to be just on one show, but a bunch of different shows. It's like 15 of them, $100 worth. So
I believe so.
So yeah. If you guys like slabs, like I know you like slabs, share with your friends, because come on, us nerds got to take care of each other. We actually have this, I at least have this funny thing that I say when people come to the store and they're like, oh my gosh, this is a really awesome place. My friends didn't tell me about this. Why did they do that? I was like, because you have really crappy friends, I guess. It's like, don't be a crappy friend. Be a good friend and let everybody know where to come hang out.
Especially if you like things, and there's certainly a comic book for the thing that you like.
Yeah, nowadays especially. Like, do you like true crime? Comic for that.
Yeah.
Comedy.
There's loads of comics for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and even this week I've got a wrestling one. I've got like a future crime noir kind of feel to it. There's just fantasy on Mars. It's just crazy. There's loads of stuff.
It's really almost. He says, yeah. All right, so I think that your idea was a good idea. We both liked a book well enough to do a review on it. I read it because I interviewed Emma Kubert yesterday. You can go back and watch that interview after this if you'd like to. They've got it posted up already. It was the Talking Shop that happened on Monday. And what we're talking about is Stoneheart #1. So Emma described it very well. So Emma's done a lot of different work in the comic book industry. You know her from her famous last name, Kubert. She did train at her father's, school, Kubert School, grandfather's. And she also has taught there. So she's an exceptionally talented human being. She doesn't just write, she also does amazing art. And in this case, she did everything for this book. So if you want to see what it's like to experience a book that has been conceived of, written, arted, lettered, and all by her, you should definitely pick up this book. And the pitch that she made to me was that the main character kind of shows up without really having any clear indication about her past, except for she keeps on hearing this. You see it in the panels. It's very well done. She keeps on hearing her name kind of like whispered over and over again. It's clear because of the way the storytelling happens. The book leads out with things all in black and white, which and it's clear that that's her past. So you do get a little, as the reader, about her and why she is where she is. But I think that's going to be a big, long journey for her to figure it out for herself. Big time for fans of, like, if you're into like a D&D or genre that feels like a medieval, if you like powers, if you like The Witcher.
Which, I mean, like, as the book goes on, it kind of starts to feel it's a mix of medieval, but also I'm not certain what time period this is.
That's true. That's very true. What would your takeaways for the book?
Well, for starters, I definitely really liked it. And I'm really curious as to how things are going to progress, because I am curious of how she's going to figure out, like, oh, this is why I'm hearing the whispering. This is what happened. And I feel like in the beginning, they didn't make it 100% clear of what exactly she did in the past. It was just like, oh, hey.
What worries them so?
Yeah, you did something bad, but we haven't specified yet. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where this one goes. Especially, I really love things where it's like you can't tell exactly what time period it is.
Hmm.
And normally it's like, oh, there's future tech, but then there's current. But this is like, oh, they have blacksmiths making axes, but also people in collared shirts and like stuff that you would wear today. So yeah, I'm really digging it.
Yeah,
I'm intrigued.
I dig her personality, because the way Emma wrote her is very much like she's like super excited about everything.
Yeah.
She was like one of those people that when you meet them, you're like, if you love that kind of energy, that like real energetic, gonna just talk and talk and talk and super excited about everything, that you'll like, that's my best friend. And if you don't, like, you can tell from other characters, they're like, oh my Lord, this girl's just like way too much.
Yeah, I feel like I would be like, okay, you seem great. All right, you go get him. I'm going to go take a nap. Wow.
So clearly in my world, I would totally hire her, because I could tell she would do the work of like 12 people, and she's super excited about everything. She goes right to work, obviously, and overachieves as a blacksmith in this town that she shows up in. So yeah, good book. So Emma told me that this is envisioned as being like a very long series, and just like everything else right now, you have to start slow, right? So she's got, if it only lasts X amount of issues, then she's got it. But really, she's envisioning this character to have a really long life, and it can. So, and this is a reminder for things that you end up buying and reading, like for Stoneheart #1. If you buy it and you read it and you like it, make sure you tell your local comic shop to put it on the polls so they know that you need #2 and more, because that is the life's blood of comic books, especially now. Who's her father? Adam or Andy? We have no idea. No idea. Oh, who's her father? I don't know. I've never asked her that question. That's a good question. Who knows? Sometimes, like, especially for people that like have a long, rich history, family history of talent, I always feel like it's kind of like they get asked so much about their famous, parents and grandparents, that they don't have any room to breathe on their own. So I tend to not ask about those things, because they get asked about it so daggum much, and they have their own talent. So I'll never ask her. We'll just keep hanging out and talking about our webcomics and stuff.
That seems fair.
All right, what'd you like?
Oh, well, I liked everything of it, to be fair.
Well, that's a lot to say. You liked all of it.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Gimmick, because it's wrestling.
Yeah. It's a body slam.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I even wore my wrestling shirt today. I did not do that on purpose. But, so this is about the guy on the cover, who to me is kind of dressed like in the ring. He also has a hat on. He kind of reminded me of John Cena. And then he's got his friend whose name is Puddin'. That's his ring.
Puddin'?
Yeah, that's his ringside name. And they're in front of millions. The stadium is packed with 40,000 people. The pay-per-view, millions of people watching, all that. And they get into the ring, and there's this guy, another wrestler who's clearly a heel. And they think that he had his character just to be a terrible racist, unfortunately.
Oh,
Because
no.
he's like literally in a Nazi uniform, and it's like, oh, this is not fun wrestling. This is awful. But he ends up getting into like a real fight with Puddin, and then Shane, I think is Shane, who's that guy. He gets legitimately mad, and he really punches him, and he punches a hole through him.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah,
That's not the way wrestling's supposed to go.
it shouldn't.
It's all
But
fake.
yeah, but this one it was real, and it everyone saw, including his wife and kid, his mom, and all this stuff. So immediately he's like, I gotta get out of here. So he's like in his car trying to plan to leave, and another wrestler comes out and he's like, all right, we're going to Mexico. We're going to start over. Just get a new life. He's just like, all right. And his friend's whole plan is like, hey, down there, I'm a legend still. I'm not like a has-been, and you can be a legend. Just put on this luchador mask.
Oh.
And it's actually El Santo's mask, who is probably one of the most famous luchadors. He's had loads of movies, and I've heard that his real face wasn't seen in public until like a week before he passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy story in life. But I'm really curious as to how this is going to go. They hint at her, like his kid, who's like a little toddler, having powers as well, because he's like punching stuff and tearing stuff apart. And his wife is like, we're going to find you before the cops do. We're going to go find your dad. And one of the cops that's investigating, he's like, I want this case because I'm a wrestling fan and I want to go meet these guys.
But they're dangerous.
Yeah, but he did kill someone that arguably no one liked, which is unfortunate. Death is unfortunate, but it's like, okay. But whoever, like, the writers of this, which I'm not certain if it's Joanne Starr or Elena Goku. But they're obviously wrestling fans because they hit on. I mean, they actually mentioned El Santo. They made a reference to one of his movies. It's just, and it just feels like, yes, a wrestling fan made this, and I can't wait to read more of it. It might have to go on my pull list actually, because it's fun.
If you guys want a good list of wrestling-related comic books that are really good, just send us a message through the experience, or you can send a message to the store, or you can just send me a message. Let me know, because I can get you hooked up with a bunch of really, really good ones. Recently, especially, there have been some really great wrestling, either traditional American stuff or luchador stuff.
Yeah. Do a Powerbomb was so good.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bittersweet ending. I cried. Oh, love that.
Yeah, but you guys put in if you have some favorites that are wrestling related, or even if you just like regular wrestling, put it in the comments. I love that we share our love of comic books together, and you guys might know some that we don't know, because there's been a long history of some neat stuff. I know that there's a Scout book. My brain's not letting me, like, it came out as a single shot. I know that there's one from Mad Cave that was really good. That
was a single shot of I think it's called The Squared Circle, and that was one where the wrestler was dealing with addiction.
Yeah, Hell is a Squared Circle is a really good Aftershock book.
So good.
And it's an oversized, like, magazine size one too. So there you go. Crimson Cage. That is AWA, yeah. So yeah, I think across the companies, people have realized that there's a rich story that can happen. All right. AWA, yeah. That is the Crimson Cage one. Yep. All right, so Mad Cave has this really awesome universe that they've built around this Nottingham. And it is like exactly what you're expecting as far as characters from, like, the Robin Hood storyline, except for this series does not focus on that character in any way. Sometimes shows up, but it focuses on the sheriff. and it's mostly where it's more about the sheriff kind of like figuring out mysteries, or like the first whole series is really about him trying to figure out about a serial killer. And then the second series was more about had something to do with money. Now I can't remember, but this one, The Tales from Nottingham, is another series that they've started recently, and it's really, really good. In this case, I'm just having problems because I drank a bunch of coffee, and now now I'm super like, woo! I am exactly like the character from Stoner right now. Oh. Yeah, okay, so in this case, the sheriff has found out that there's some poaching going on in the King's Forest that has been sent to go and try to figure out who that is, but he's not real interested in doing that. He's got something else he's doing. So I won't spoil it by telling you what the other thing he's trying to hunt down is, but I really love Nottingham's character because, you know, all of our views of that, the sheriff has always been kind of like, like a character that no one likes, right? But in this case, he's a character you'll definitely like. So highly recommend you go back and try to find the first couple of series and then jump in here. And again, this is from company Mad Cave, which is a cool company.
It's definitely an interesting take on it. I don't know that I fully understood that that's what that was about. Now it's like, oh, well, now I'm going to have to read it.
Yeah.
As my to read list grows longer.
I know.
I'll never make a dent. Okay. I will go with Gretal. Gretal, Seeds of Despair. From Zenoscope, which actually I don't think I've read much of Zenoscope. Shockingly.
Oh, I'm super interested to see what you think about this. Okay, so this is what I normally get from people that I hand Zenoscope to. Is it because of the cover art? A lot of people think it's just they're fluff pieces. Like there's just an excuse for having like really gorgeous covers.
Yeah.
And isn't any substance to these, but they are really good, strong female protagonist books.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of the few covers I've seen that it's like, oh, the woman's actually mostly covered in comparison to a lot of the other covers, which I don't think there's anything wrong with either or. But in this, Gretal is absolutely a very strong female character, and so is her partner, Caliber. I believe that's based on the weapon use. I would assume that her name is pronounced Caliber. But there's this isle of witchcraft, and they take the adults and they make them into slaves, and the kids, it just said they're used for a darker purpose. Did not describe what. So I assume that's something that will come to light as other comics as the series goes on. But Gretel and her friend or her partner, they are trying to get to this island, and none of the locals are willing to help. They're like, we don't want anything to do with it. Then a local does help because the witches kidnapped her kid, and obviously the lead witch found out and was like, hey, you shouldn't have spoken up about this. But Gretel, you find out that she actually has witch powers, so she might actually be a witch, and she can get the powers by eating witch hearts.
Oh,
yeah.
So she's still killing witches.
Yeah. And she gets whatever powers that witch has. So think like iZombie type thing.
Yeah.
And Caliber, her choice of weapon is guns. So yeah. So you have the witchcraft and the guns. And their whole thing is like, hey, we're going to take down this Isle of Witches. And through the fighting and everything, Gretel has like an internal struggle of like, am I any better than these witches? Because I mean, I'm eating their hearts and I'm getting powers. Am I actually doing the right thing? I don't know. And Caliber's like, yeah, I don't know if Gretel is actually on my side. I don't know if she's actually good. They're both having internal struggles about like, ooh, should we even keep doing this? I don't, ooh.
There's an ethical dilemma?
There is. Shockingly.
That's deep.
With eating witch hearts and and stuff, there is an ethical dilemma. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. It is obvious. It's very violent, but it's the art is fantastic, and I'm excited about it. I really need to read more Zenescope.
I'm going to still continue to eat artichoke hearts, even though they don't give me powers.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Sorry.
The power to not be hungry.
That's right. The power not to. John, yes, we do love Zenescope. Do you have any favorite titles from there? You know that Jenna loves Zenescope. That's, I think, her favorite company. And she can tell you the entire history of pretty much every character as part of that universe. So if you ever see her doing reviews again and you want her to do that, you should encourage her to do like TikToks or something that like just address each of the characters so you can get caught up super fast. She would be really good at it. Jenna, that is a possible name, Genoscope. That's a really good one.
I think we found a topic for a Monday trivia at some point.
We're probably gonna have to do a whole show just called Genoscope. Samurai Doggy.
I want to read this so bad
because I'm super into Aftershock. This one is number 4, so I'll just kind of catch you up without trying to spoil anything. So Samurai Doggy is basically when you first meet the Samurai Doggy, who goes by the name Doggy, he's kind of wandering the desert and comes across this, like, for lack of a better term, a robotic or mechanical vulture that hangs out with him. And in this issue, they have come across this, looks like a mechanical boy is probably the best way to describe him. And they're kind of hanging out at like a carnival and get attacked and end up going, I guess, trying to take him back to his house, and more crazy stuff happens. So this book is more about the beauty of the art, I would say, and some really great battle scenes, because there is a lot, because he's a samurai, there's lots of that happening. And in this case, some like ultra violent stuff. So all of this looks really cute. There is some really terrible stuff that happens in terms of like deaths. So if you like those kinds of things, where it like keeps you on your toes for what's going to happen next, Samurai Doggy's a really good book for that. Van Helsing is Backwoods Collector's favorite series, and also John's. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so Van Helsing's got a lot of love. All right, and I like, weirdly, Robin Hood is good. I actually glommed onto their conspiracy series, which has nothing to do with the main universe in any way, but they just like had each issue of conspiracy addressed a specific actual conspiracy, like the Denver airport or the Illuminati. And you didn't need to read any of the other ones to enjoy the books there are. You can just like jump in. So it'd be fun to find those. I think that actually the Zenescope page actually started to show, okay, we have other cool things that you might not be aware of that are not tied to the main universe if you wanted to try some cool stuff that we also have done. I liked Monster Isle for that because that wasn't tied to really anything, but was really cool.
I think pick of the week that we just did, or we're going to be doing, is Department of Truth. So I've started to get into the conspiracy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I'm really falling in love with it. It's so much. It's so good.
What's cool about Image is, like, I don't know if everybody knows about how Image works. Different publishers work in different ways. Image is a creator-owned place. So what happens for Image is that the creator still owns their property in most cases. So they actually pay for their own print runs, and Image lends on its end the marketing part. So it gives them a big boost in front of a lot of people. But if you're supporting those books for Image, you're actually supporting the creators of them. Not that you wouldn't want to support Image because it's an amazing company, but just as an extra reason to support the books that are through there, like Stoneheart. You might do that because those people have put their money on the line. I actually probably got to go twice, don't I?
You might.
Okay, let's do some X titles. For fans of X23, I know you guys have been missing some X. This deadly Regenesis goes straight into the main universe that's been going on for the X universe, okay? So just suppose it all ties into the Hickman universe and all the things that have been going on within. But this one is more kind of like an introduction to the character so you can get to know her and what drives her. This one is more about her, like she wants very much to be seen as like a hero. So she's in this one on purpose going into a blazing building and trying to do her part. This one is extra cool also because she interacts with another character that might surprise you. This is a good place to jump in, honestly. You can totally jump in if you don't know anything about her. She's very much not excited about having to pull along this the legacy of being related to Wolverine. Like that's really what's brought up all the time for her. In this case, there's another, I'll just say it's a male character that is brought into this storyline, which is going to make a really, really rich storyline, but it is not Wolverine. So if you like kind of first appearances, X-23, this one would be a good place to jump in and pick up. And I will have to say also that you don't really need to know anything about the character. If you're just starting reading Marvel and you don't know anything about X-23, there's nothing really background-wise you need to know about her to enjoy this book.
Okay, you needed to have read X-Men 328 to understand. Okay.
No. She has claws. She can stab you.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, the difference is like she has 2 claws instead of 3, and she has a claw that comes out of her foot. She can jab you with, which makes her extra dangerous if she's going to do some like kung fu.
That's pretty cool.
Watch your shins.
That's pretty cool. Okay.
Ooh, cool Dynamite book.
Yeah, Dejah Thoris. And I really enjoyed this one. I like the art in it. It's really cool. I had never heard of Dejah Thoris before this, but just based on the text of it, I was like, this has to be a reboot of some kind or something. And then I found out it's like, oh, she first appeared in a book in 1917, and it's like, oh,
by Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, this has a lot of history to it. But this very much just introduces you to the character. She's a Martian, a princess Martian, but I think they call the planet Barsum, and she's
correct.
And she's Princess of Helium, which is I guess like the mega town in I say town, city in on that planet. So it starts off, it goes pretty fast, like, hey, we're setting up the plot, here you go. She's just having a normal day, getting ready, and then they're like, oh, hey, there's an attack of some green men, and we need to go investigate this. And she's like, all right, cool, we'll do that. But then all of a sudden, they get attacked by not the green men, it's giant spiders.
Oh.
And it just takes the whole town, and Dejah and her friend, which I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm just going to say Rue, but it's R-R-O-O.
I think that's probably as good as we're going to get.
Yeah.
That's how I would say it.
Yeah. So, who seems to be her confidant. They escape. They have like a planned escape plan. And whoever led the attack is like, okay, so cool. We've taken the town. Everybody's like captured, right? Cool. And then one of the spiders is like, well, the princess escaped. And he's like, dude, are you serious? If she's not captured, they might rebel and we will lose everything. So he's pretty mad. And him and the leader of the spiders, who is more of an anthropomorphic like human, but with a weird spider face thing. They're already kind of button heads like, hey, you need to not talk to my people like this, and we're not having this. But yeah, so they escape and everything, and it seems like it's going to be a really long journey, And they're already starting to run into like, oh, hey, we have to go through this dangerous forest. And hey, there's dangerous people over here. And, helium's been taken. I'm very intrigued to see where this is going, especially knowing that there is so much history to this character.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a 1,000 or so years, I think it said, before John Carter.
Okay.
So
we get to see her as a younger prince. I don't know how long their lifelines times are.
Apparently very long.
Seems like it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm very intrigued by it, and I probably will go back and at least read some of the older stuff just to be like, oh, okay, so this is where some of this started.
Yeah, and I will tell you, as a person who's recently tried to go and read the original John Carter, Warlord of Mars stuff from Edgar Rice Burroughs, I've got like a big novel of like all of them together. It's actually not that easy of a read. It's kind of a slog, honestly. But all of the Dynamite books based on that universe are so much easier to read. Maybe it's because there's a visual aspect to it. But Edgar was very, what do they call it when they like use a lot of words to say one thing?
Overly descriptive?
Very descriptive, overly descriptive. And it's very rich, but it's just like the problem I had when I went back and tried to read the original Dune. Frank was also used so many words that he could have
he could have just said that the curtains were blue.
It could have been better, and not made me fall asleep. But verbose, that's the word I'm looking for. This is not me saying it's bad. I'm just saying that when you only have an hour to read every night or whatever, sometimes you're just like, okay, I can't do. Maybe it's just the era in which they were written, that the flowery language and that kind of stuff was popular. So this is me saying, in this case, I think the comics are better than the source material.
Probably definitely easier to get into at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Edgar Rice Burroughs family members. There's other stuff of his I can read and love, but it broke me. Usually I can say I'm gonna finish everything, but it broke me. I did not finish.
Got other things to read.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here's a number 2 from Marvel. This is Bloodline, daughter of Blade. In this case, and many times, Marvel is interesting because they often put really important things in issues number 2, which is interesting because usually when comic book stores are ordering 2s, we're kind of real careful about it, because if it's one of those things that the number 1 didn't do well, then we buy a whole bunch of number 2, then we just are spending money that we could spend on other things. In this case, I'm glad we did pretty good ordering on it. So in this case, the daughter of Blade is introduced in the issue number 1, right? And she's a fairly interesting character. This book takes place when she's in high school, essentially. So it looks like, I didn't read the number 1, so it looks like in the issue number 1, she's already kind of like met kind of a nemesis at that school. And so this book kind of opens in the middle of that kind of confrontation, in which the person that she's having the problems with looks like it's more than just high school drama. That person sees her for what she is, and kind of like accuses her. It's like it like thinks that she's a vampire, so she's like, I need to do you in. And then that becomes a really cool working through of a storyline, right? Because she is the daughter of Blade, and Blade is half vampire. That makes her a quarter. So yes, she has vampire tendencies, but how much? And it's going to depend a bit on her mom, which they name and you see, but I don't know that they actually tell us very much about. So I don't know what her background is either. There is big stuff that happens in this one, including she gets to have a first meeting with another character that's important to her life. It's probably on the internet right now, but I don't want to be someone that spoils things for you. Recently, like, first meetings of characters have started to become very important for collectability. So I just didn't want you to miss this one. And I like her as a character. She kind of is like a just the way you expect a teenager to be, like full of drama. And a lot of her problems are, she gets ground. She's been grounded by her mom. But then this person that she's having a conflict with kind of shows up and says, hey, Mom, you'll like me. How about if I say we're going to go study together? Can your daughter come and hang out with me? And I think there's a little flirtation there that I'm not real sure about how that's working out because of things that happen later on. So it's a really good storyline. And I know that I'm a big Marvel girl, so it's really hard to make me ever say anything bad about a Marvel book, but I like this character, and I hope she's not a flash in the pan character. I hope that she's like going to be part of the bigger Marvel universe at some point. Yeah, make sure you put it on your polls if you like it, because like everything else, if you don't put it on, there might not be any on the rack at your shop, and you don't want to have that happen. That would be sad.
Yeah, especially if it's like any of the oddball stuff that I personally like. It's like the second I see it, it's like, oh, never mind, I gotta put that on my poll. Oh no, I saw an ad for it in this book that I just read. Okay, on the poll then.
Well, what I see happen a lot, honestly, is that things like this happen where all of a sudden it has a first appearance or something changes about a character. There's a new power. There's a first meeting. And because the order's already in, oftentimes by the time the public knows that, like tonight's probably when everybody knows, then probably all of the backstock at the publisher is gone, because then that gets sucked up. So if you don't have it on your poll, then there might not be a way for your LCS to be able to even get it, even if they wanted it. You found a Blade promo VHS sealed. You've got a gold mine.
That's awesome.
Gold mine.
Blade is such a great movie.
Now you have to find a number one. I think they're probably out there.
I'll go ahead and do clear.
So funny, that cover. I know it hasn't anything to do with it, but it looks like Pink Lemonade. You know that character?
Maybe. It sounds the character sounds familiar.
It's a totally different company. It's like Image, or no, Pink Lemonade is, no, I think it's Image.
Well, this is clear. And to me, it had a very, like I said, like a futuristic sci-fi noir vibe, at least in some scenes. Because you do have a detective, Sam Dune, and he does the typical investigating stuff, like, oh, you hired me for this stuff, but I'm a better detective. I can do other stuff, but I need money. Which I'm gonna.
Oni, thank you, John.
I'm gonna try to sum this up as best I can. There's a lot of plot in this first issue.
Ooh.
It takes place in San Francisco in the year 2056, and everyone is hooked up to the internet. And it's not like through your phone or anything. It's like your screen, our eyes, and you're the circuit board. It's just like you're in it.
You have like instant access to everything
That's
the
what
entire internet has.
That's what they made it appear to be. I'm certainly might expand upon that and see it used later on in other issues. But and there's this thing called veils, so you can decide how you see the world. If you want to see the world in like 1940s glamour, then that's how everything will appear to you, even people. And some architecture is actually designed to be glamorized or to have a veil on because it's just plain.
So you would choose goth, right?
Yeah, probably. I'd probably choose something like metal and spooky and stuff. Like, put me in an Elvira show. That's what I want everything to look like. But and apparently the veils didn't take a big hold on the U.S. until after the Red War, which kind of it knocked down everyone's system essentially, and it was just crazy and weird. And what the main character does is he is hired to investigate. I think they're called black veils or black veiling, and it's basically when you put a veil on, but no one knows that you have a veil on, or they can't see what your veil is. So, like, wives will hire him to be like, oh, hey, can you make sure that my husband isn't buying an illegal veil because he wants me to look different? That sort of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And he does something called clear so that he can see the world plainly. Like, he doesn't want a veil. He doesn't see veils. It's a whole thing. But very early on, you find out that his wife is dead, and it seems like they're estranged, or maybe they're an ex. But she basically leaves him with a gift post-mortem, and it's a clue. That's like, oh, hey, there's more to my death than meets the eye. So you have to investigate that. And so he's got to investigate that and all the black veiling. And then there's something called 1518, which is a type of shared veiling, which can cause everyone to have the same delusions. And it's named after the 1518 dancing crisis, like where everyone in the town was just dancing until they died.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
I have to do research now.
Yeah. But it's like a shared hysteria, and they believe that if you share the same exact veil, then you all are seeing the same delusions, and it can cause that sort of thing. And there's so much to this book.
Tell everybody who wrote it so they can be like, oh, I have to add it to my poll right now.
It is by Scott Snyder and Francis Manapul.
Yeah, that's a dream team, y'all.
And it's from Dark Horse. And it's a pretty thick book, and it got a lot of story, and it's just a lot. I'm excited for it. It's crazy.
By the way, I'm going to pre-tell you guys about a book that you should put on your poll box now. FOC has already happened, but this is a vault book called Nasty. You should do some research on it. Nasty.
Dearly noted.
I just worry that by the time the book comes out, it'll be too late. Oh, John's already seen the artwork. The John Lee's book. Nasty. Yeah. I've been getting messages like, this is when you know a creative team really believes in their stuff. Like, I've got messages from Vault, and I've got messages from the creative team like 3 times about don't forget to add Nasty. So it's definitely on my radar of things. And really, Vault doesn't just like push books that they're like, about. By the way, Vault believes in their stuff so much that they have line-wide returnability. I'm not talking about number 1s and 2 only. They believe in their stuff so much that they say, buy our books and put them on the rack so that everyone can get them and don't miss out on them. And we'll stand by it all the way. And that's the only company that does that. There's other companies that offer it for number 1 and number 2, so we can have a little bit of buffer for, if we want to order extra books to make sure we have them on the rack for you guys. We don't have as much risk on our end. So always back the companies that back your LCS. All right, New Mutants, Lethal Legion. All right, and in this case, I will tell you this is definitely part of the main Hickman universe. And that I don't know a whole bunch about the New Mutants that are portrayed in here. It looks like a bunch of new characters that have come out of that storyline. In this case, it focuses in on a bunch of, it looks like they're all female characters. And they all come up with this plan that they're going to go work on together. It does reference back to what's going on Krakoa, but more directly, it talks about what's happening on the coastal related mutant base. And because, they've got Krakoa, they got islands, and they've got the stuff that's in Mars. So, man, it's such a rich universe right now. You don't need this book if you're not into all of the stuff that's going on that's related to the mutant storyline. But this one's just a delightful one, and I'm pretty sure you're going to see new characters in here, and that you'll like them. There's some relationship stuff in here. So if you like the more relationship driven storylines for the X books, this one is for you. So I'll do another one.
Yeah.
Because you get to the point where you only have one.
Yeah, I only have one.
Okay. This is probably going to be one of the hot books this week. This is Adventures of Superman, John Kent, also known as the new Superman book. This one says it's the road to injustice. What you kind of have been seeing about John Kent is that they've had this standalone book for him and for his boyfriend, their storyline, their development of their togetherness and those kinds of things that focused on that. And then you've had the other book that has the dad, Kent. Now, in this case, this is bringing to the forefront a big conflict that is happening. It appears that there is just a wholehearted going through and killing Clarks from every universe, okay? John has actually gone to his own kind of like where he can stand on his own and not have to live in the shadow of his dad. But in this case, he's finding out that he's going to have to be called on to try to figure out what's going on. There are storylines that are taking place in Earth 0. It has references to Earth 2, that big storyline. I'm trying to remember if it mentions any of their specific Earths. But you're going to have to know a little bit about that, the fact that there are multiple Earths in which these characters exist. And in each one, there's, versions of them. So can't wait for the John Kent. Yeah, it's really, really good. I recommend it. Like I said, I'm more of a Marvel girl, but I am very excited about DC books that focus more on like the character of the characters themselves and how they relate to each other and the difficulties and the dramas, and less on the battle. And this one gives me what I wanted because I like relationship books. So this makes me very happy.
Very nice.
And I'll do one more, and then you can do, and then I'll have one last one. Okay. This one's an easy, fast one for you guys. This is Godzilla Rivals One-Shot Mothra versus Titanosaurus. And in this case, the beginning of the book, the characters that you meet have created a new technology in which they can kind of like, it's like a headgear in which they can kind of see, I don't know, the aura of kaiju and maybe try to figure out what they're thinking or what their motivations are or whatever. And one of Mothra's eggs shows up on the beach. And so they're trying to use that to interact with it. But that kind of like creates some difficulties. It's like it doesn't work the way that they really want it to. And Titanosaurus shows up. I don't know if Titanosaurus has been summoned by the use of this headgear. It doesn't explain that yet. This is a single shot for you guys. So you just kind of like, you just have to, you can read the whole story in there. Titanosaurus is a kaiju I'm not familiar with, so I don't know what his really powers are, but he looks kind of essentially like a giant dinosaur unicorn, which is kind of fun. He's cool. And I love Mothra, so I don't really care about that other thing. He can die 1,000 deaths as far as I'm concerned. He can be as cool as he wants because Mothra is the boss. So, good book to read.
Fair enough. I'll have to check that one out at some point. Okay, and the last one for me is Predator. Which I will say, simply, if you know anything about Predator, I mean, this is that book. It's a group of people. They are being chased down by Predator, obviously. They found a little safe spot, and they're like, okay, like, who are you? What's your thing? And it's all people that have a military background, but they're from different years. Like, you have someone that's from after the year 2050, and then you have someone from 1987. And everyone's just like, no, you're messing with me. It's crazy. And they're like, okay, well, we have to figure this out. We got to go get weapons. Let's go do that. And then they see carrier crates, and they're like, oh, are the Predators like trying to like give us food and stuff so that we're strong and we're the adversaries? Because at least 2 of them from the future are like, oh, no. Like, these are Predators. We know what they are. We have films about them. And and then they realize that the crates are actually used to carry something living. And then suddenly, boom, big monster. And they come to the conclusion that, oh, the Predators took things from other planets and possibly galaxies and put them here as like a practice hunting ground to like learn how to go against everyone so that they can be the most powerful in the universe. So it seems very Predator-esque. Like, okay, this is what I expect from a Predator book. It seems pretty fun though. It's very violent and gory, obviously, because Predators.
wonder if they're ever going to give us a movie in it where it's just like Predator's Day Off. Where it's just
I would watch that.
Do they have girlfriends? No one knows. All they do is they're always leaving home to go hunt. So do they have a home life? What do they eat?
They just hang out and watch Battlefield Earth, you know. They just chill.
Do they read comics?
They're accidentally breaking them apart because they're too strong.
Do they have hair braiding parties? I want to know all of these things because otherwise they're real boring if that's all they do is go hunt things.
They have helmet making parties.
Helmet making party. There you go. They get together and do cosplay.
I'm gonna dress up as Alien now.
cleaning trophies, drinking Mai Tai. See, yeah. What do they do with their time off?
Drinking Mai
Do they
Tai from
have time
skulls.
off? Maybe they just attend big conventions in which they're like every like panel is like you know, figuring out how to do taxidermy on aliens.
How to kill mutants from Earth 616, you know?
What things are useful? Hunting prey in the mud. I don't know.
Hunting prey and you.
All right. This is a cool one-shot called A.R.C. With writing from my friend Matt Hawkins. I tried to get an interview with him, but right now he is in the UAE doing a convention. So that means that our night is his day, etc. That was kind of like we can't meet up. So we'll get together with him and talk about it whenever he comes back to a more reasonable time zone. But this one is essentially it kind of deals with the actual things, but in this is a fiction way. So this is the A.R.C. is an animal, let's say rescue something, in which it's a big corporation run by the character that's on the front cover there, and their entire purpose is really to fight against poaching. So you know, like there's a little bit of corporate part of it where you know, they have to do regular meetings and all that kinds of stuff, and it addresses all those things, but mostly it's them on the ground, right? So they have teams that go, and when they hear that there's going to be poaching, or if they thought there's poaching, they'll have to show up. But it also addresses all the complexities of that. So I'm sure it's drawing on the reality of it that the poachers themselves aren't really what's driving everything. It's the end, kind of not the end user, but like the big corporations and move things across to China for medicine and for perceived medicine and for decorative things. But the poachers themselves are just like, they're just trying to live. Like they're trying to find a way to you know, make money enough to live, because they're not making anything really off of what they're doing. So it kind of, you meet this one kid who is the only survivor of this big poaching ring that, you know, they find these elephants that have been poached, this guy's group. But when they go and track down the actual poaching group, all of them have been slaughtered already. So there's this like, you can see the power struggle for all the people. There's so much money involved in the trade of ivory, etc., that you see this struggle for all the different players. And it's very clear that this main guy has a struggle for like, is this person who's offering me money to do what I'm doing, to fight this fight, are they giving me appeasement money? Are they actually on their end actually benefiting from the trade? And this is kind of like their buffer. Am I in trouble, or am I in danger, or my loved one's in danger because of the work that I'm doing? So it's one of those books that's I will say it has a very specific purpose, and it's like telling a story. And it's a one shot clearly, so it's closed ended, but it's really good. I say if you like causes, supporting them, I like this kind of book, because it's like, okay, well, I can show that I support a cause, or when I read about it and think about it in a different way, because we live far away from Africa and the things that happen there. So this one's a cool thing in this book is from Top Cow, Image Top Cow.
Yes, that makes to be from a company with an animal in it. That makes sense for this book.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That is all the books we have to review for today. This is our regular review show. Every single week we're doing, it's like that. The artwork is kind of like this cover. It's really good. And it's beautiful. If you like beautiful animals, there's not all of them being killed. There's some other beautiful animals that are in there. So join us every week at this time. It's not always me. I'm pitch hitting today because I've been kind of like raising up my staff to be able to do this. So it's usually going to be Alfie and sometimes Jenna and sometimes Shanice. So if you like different points of view about books, you'll kind of get to learn us and what we like. So you can kind of listen to the recommendations for the people that you trust what they like. So.
If it's something weird and I like it, you can trust me.
And subscribe if you can. I would love that, or share. It helps us, let us know we're doing a good job. Yeah, thanks, John. I'm glad to do that. I'll see you guys next time. Stick around. We got some awesome stuff happening here on The Experience. We hope that you guys enjoy our programming. See you guys next time.